welcome back to my channel. It's Deja B. So in today's video we're going to be doing kind of a two-part story time Q&A about my labor and delivery experience. My last video I kind of like put in some snips of like me actually in labor and being in the hospital, just like little snips. But in today's video I'm just gonna go like in depth and answer some questions that I asked you guys to ask me on my Instagram. But yeah, and if you guys are new or you don't know, I gave birth to my daughter on March 16th. So it's about to be like 2 months almost since I've had her. Well, like a month and a half. It's been like a month and a half. So I'm gonna answer one question before like I start telling the story, so that I can like kind of give a little background, I guess. The first question was if I still lived on campus, or if I went back home, or if I found me a place. And I do not live on campus anymore, like I kind of said in my moving off campus for a spring break vlog. I moved completely off of campus. I did not go home. I actually found an apartment. My mom moved from our hometown up here, like she lives here like with me now to like just help me out like entirely, so I appreciate her for that. And the reason that I wanted to answer this first was because we ended up moving into our new like apartment on March 14th, which is a Monday, so 2 days before I ended up giving birth to my daughter. I freshly like moved in to this apartment, and you know, so the whole entire day, Monday and Tuesday, was just spent like getting things like together and settled in the house. And yeah, so basically my contractions kind of intensified, I want to say, that Tuesday. So like the day before, you know, the real like intense labor and me actually going to the hospital, that's kind of when it started, was that Tuesday, so the day before. So if y'all remember in my spring break vlog, I said I was like 1 centimeter dilated, and that was over a week before I was supposed to give birth. So like the whole time from then, which was like March 5th, up until March 15th, my contractions were like pretty much the same. They were constant. They didn't feel like they increased very much. Like it wasn't really much pain at all or discomfort, but I was like 1 centimeter dilated to my knowledge. And so, you know, Tuesday night, I kind of noticed that my contractions started to like intensify a little bit. But it wasn't like anything too major. I just noticed like a significant like change in the way that it was like feeling and everything. So I kind of just, you know, called it a night with, you know, moving everything, since I said like we had moved in the day before, so we were just trying to like get everything moved into the apartment. But I ended up going to sleep, and the next day I woke up. It was probably around like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. and my contractions literally woke me up out of my sleep. Like I felt some serious like intense pain like in my lower abdomen area. It was like severe like cramping, almost like a sharp knife like kind of just stabbing down there. So it woke me up, and I kind of just knew that like, okay, these are contractions and they're feeling more intense. So I felt like, all right, this might be the day that I end up giving birth. But I kind of just lay there. I remember feeling those sharp pains, and I laid there for a little bit until it kind of went away, and then I tried to go back to sleep. But I really couldn't go to sleep because, you know, they were coming back again. So when I woke up, I decided that I was gonna just go ahead and start timing them, because it wasn't like just regular like cramping, like period pain or anything like that. Like it was actually pretty intense. So I started timing them, and I remember my OB was saying that when you go to the hospital, like your contractions and everything need to be I think she said 5 minutes apart and lasting for 1 minute. Yeah, 5 minutes apart and lasting for 1 minute. I think that's what she said. And so I started timing them, like how long they were lasting, and trying to, so I would time like the length of them, and then I would also time like in between, like how long it was lasting. So in the beginning, like it wasn't lasting like super long, but they were gradually, like as the day was going by, they started to get a little more intense. So like from 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 a.m. I would say like the contraction pain, that kind of intense period pain, like, but also like kind of a stabbing pain, was pretty constant for that time. But then I would say around like the afternoon is when the contractions got a lot worse. So like, because if y'all could see in the video that I was fine, I was like breathing through it, I was trying to breathe through it, I was on my ball like bouncing up and down and stuff to try to like manage the pain. So I was doing good with breathing. But around 1 p.m. is when me and my mom, we decided to go grocery shopping, because like I said, we had been moving the past couple of days. There were no groceries in the house, and I mean, kind of in my head, I was like, all right, well, I'm not gonna wanna go to the grocery store like after I have my daughter. So we went to the store, and honestly, like in the grocery store is when the cramping and everything just got like way worse. I kept having to stop, you guys, like while pushing the cart, because I was pushing so that I could like walk. My mom was telling me like walking is good, it's gonna like, you know, help with everything. But in the video I said it felt like I was dying. Like the contractions is just like what it feels like, or it's just like what it sounds like. Like it's just basically like a squeezing. Like it feels like someone is literally coming on the sides of your stomach and like just squeezing like with all their power, like with both hands. And like when you're squeezing like with both hands, it's like whatever is in the middle is like pressing down. So it was like pain all around, like really tight, like constricting. And then I just kept feeling like pressure, like constant pressure like on my pelvis and stuff. So it was very uncomfortable, and it's not like something that I could like just continue to walk through. So anytime I had a contraction in the store, like I had to stop, I had to breathe through it. So we were in the store for a good amount of time. Then we got back, I'd say around 3 p.m. and yeah, I couldn't really do anything at this point. I just had to like lay down. It felt like my contractions had just gotten so much worse out of nowhere, and I really think that walking around in the store like is what did it. So yeah, around 3 is when, you know, I was just trying to breathe. I was still trying to do the same techniques and everything, but you know, my mom, she just kind of kept like trying to motivate me, saying like, okay, like you got this, like trying to push out the time so that we could miss the like rush hour point to get to the hospital. And then she also didn't want it to be a thing of like, okay, we go to the hospital and you're not really dilated. And I also didn't want that. Like I didn't want to be sitting in the hospital so long. So I just kept on like, you know, going. Like I kept trying to listen to what she said. Her goal was like, okay, let's wait until like 6 p.m. And honestly, like I would say around 4 o'clock is when I felt like I just needed to go to the hospital. Like the only reason that I didn't is because I just kept listening to my mom, and she was like, no, like just a little longer, like you sure you can't wait a little longer? And I was like, okay, like I'm gonna try. So it got to a point to where I was even trying to like get some rest. So I basically had laid on the couch, and I was trying to sleep in between the contractions, but honestly, it wasn't that easy because the contractions got to a point to where it wasn't like a lot of time in between. I would say I had probably 2 to 3 minutes, if that, in between my contractions, and they just lasted, it seemed like forever. So it's like I was just laying down in agony. Any position I was in, I was just uncomfortable. I wasn't even bouncing on my ball anymore at this point because it was just so painful. And so my mom, she was like, she ran me a bath, like a warm bath, so that I could sit in it. And by this point, you know, I had been in and out trying to sleep, but it wasn't really working. So it was probably around 5 at this point. And so, you know, I went to the bathroom and I used the restroom before. And when like I had pulled down like my underwear, I saw some blood in there, and my mom, she kind of was like, okay, well, maybe we need to go to the hospital, like at that point, because that's when I was already cramping like abdominally, but it's like down, like now it was like I was cramping just like all over. My back was hurting so much, like it felt so bad. So I got into the bathtub and I was sitting in there, but my mom, like while I was sitting in the bathtub, my mom was like kind of getting stuff together so that we could go ahead and like go to the hospital, because like at that point when there's blood and stuff, like even if it's not like your mucus plug, like it's time to go. So we ended up going, or actually when I was in the tub, the whole time, like during my labor and stuff, like when I was going through the contractions, I was messaging my boyfriend. I was telling him like, okay, kind of keeping him updated of like what was going on, because we were all just gonna meet at the hospital because, you know, he stays right next to the hospital. And so it was just more convenient to do it that way. And where I stay is like 30 minutes with like no traffic really from the hospital. So it was still time like to get there from my house to there. So we finally get in the car, and at this point, the way I was feeling, the pain, it seemed like I had no breaks in between my contractions at this point. And it was like my mom, when she was driving, it felt like she hit like every bump in the road, every pothole, like speed bumps, everything. Every little bump was just hurting. Like it added more pain to it. And like I was just holding my stomach like the whole time, and I was just trying to breathe, but it was so intense. And then, you know, we finally got there. So I say we probably got to the hospital around like 6 o'clock, 6, maybe 6:15. And so, and my boyfriend had just got there like right on time. So we kind of all got there like right at the same time. And it was like, we went up to where you do like the intake or whatever. And they had got me in triage. And I would say I was in triage for probably like 30 to 45 minutes, because in there, that's where they check how dilated you are to see like if you can, if you need to stay like at the hospital or not, and like if like see how far basically you are in your labor. And so they checked me, and I was 7 centimeters dilated. And so that was the first time they checked me. And then the second time they came back a little bit later and checked me again. And when she checked me the second time, to see like before they moved me into the actual labor and delivery room, I think I was like almost 8 centimeters. I can't really remember if I was still 7 or if I was 8 centimeters, but I remember when she checked me the second time, I actually lost my mucus plug. And so yeah, like at this point, y'all, like the pain was just so bad. I couldn't really like focus on breathing anymore because I didn't have like breaks in between. I don't think it was like a 1 minute in between at this point. Like it was just, they were just back to back. As soon as I got to the hospital, it was just so bad. And there's a drug that you can get called Pitocin. that you can like that will help with the pain or whatever, but you can't be past 6 centimeters, and I was too far, so I couldn't get any pain medicine at that point. They asked me about the epidural, and I was like no, because I didn't really want the epidural, honestly, even though in the video that I posted last time I was like, okay, if I get there and I'm not this, then I need the epidural. But I was already 7 centimeters, like about to be 8 centimeters, and I was just like, okay, well, in my head I was thinking, oh, like I'm not gonna get the epidural since I'm this far, like I just want to get some pain medicine. But the only pain medicine and like besides the epidural I couldn't get, so they moved me to labor and delivery. And there it was just so many questions, nurses just asking me like tons and tons of questions. Like I couldn't hardly think straight. I'm like having contractions. My boyfriend, my mom sometimes had to answer the questions for me. It was just a lot, but like they would stop and let me like finish my contraction, but it was just so much. Like they don't prepare you for all the questions that you're gonna get like bombarded with. But I think also it was just so bad because I was so like far into my labor that it's like it was so much. Like everything was just so fast paced. Like nurses were like moving quickly, trying to get through the questions quickly, because I mean, like I said, at this point I was nearing 8 centimeters already. And it seemed like when I got into the labor and delivery room is when I just could not, like I felt like the pain before, I want to say, was probably like an 8, but at this point it was like a 10. Like I honestly couldn't really breathe. Like I couldn't breathe through them. My back, just every contraction, my back was just so tense and so tight. Everything was so tense and so tight. And I was on the bed, and it's like I was laying like flat, like the bed was laying flat, and so it was even more uncomfortable for me. But I had my boyfriend was very supportive. My mom, she was supportive. When it got to a point to where they checked me again in the labor delivery room, I want to say I was probably in here for like 45 minutes to, no, I want to say it was like, again, another 30 to 40 something minutes when they had checked me again. And when they checked me this time, I was fully dilated. And so, before like me getting pregnant, I'm thinking, when you hear that you're fully dilated, okay, it's time to push. But I was fully dilated, but I couldn't push or anything because my daughter's head was still up, like kind of high. So it's like you have to be fully dilated and the head has to be like all the way like low. I think I'm not really sure if this is the term or not, E-face, but I think that's when they have to be 100% E-face too. Like, so fully dilated and 100% E-face. I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it is. And so it seemed like by that point, when I was fully dilated and I had to wait even longer to push until my baby's head like dropped even more, it just seemed like the time like just went by so slow. Every contraction, I just felt like, oh, I can't do another one. Like I can't experience this again. My mom and my boyfriend, they were like, you're so close, like you're already there, like you don't need the epidural. But I kind of just gave in. Like I couldn't do it anymore. My body was so tired, and all I was thinking about is, okay, like I'm 10 centimeters dilated, and yeah, like I can just hold off a little bit and like just push without it. But I was just thinking, okay, I still have to push her out. Like that's gonna be painful to me. Like that's what I'm thinking in my head. I'm like, I still have to push her. Like I'm gonna be pushing and pushing until she comes out, and I just don't know if I'll be able to like manage with the way that I'm feeling. And so, because the first time I was like, okay, yeah, I want an epidural. They called them up there, and like, I basically let my boyfriend and my mom convince me, you don't need it. So I was like, okay, never mind. So they said never mind to the people, and so they didn't end up coming. And when they checked me again, because I was like, okay, like I feel like I have to poop, like I feel it's so much pressure down there. So she checked me again, and I was like 10 centimeters dilated, but she was like, her head's still up a little too high. And I was like, oh my God, like no. Like I was thinking for sure, like, okay, I feel it, like it's so much pressure, like I know, like I have to push. And she was like, no, like her head's still up too high. And so I was like, okay, like you have to call them back. At this point, just call them back because I need the epidural. And my mom was worried because she was like, okay, she didn't think I was gonna be able to be still, but y'all, I was so determined to get that epidural because I literally could not experience another contraction. Like I could not do it. So I was so still, like getting my epidural, like I didn't even care. I was going through a contraction and everything, but once I got the epidural, immediately, it's like instant, like as soon as it goes into your body, it's instant. And it was just so much relief. Like all the tenseness I was feeling was all relieved. Like I was just so relaxed. So it was honestly amazing. And so by this point, I'm not gonna lie though, the epidural, it kind of slowed my contractions down, which isn't really like good because you need the contractions to come so that, you know, you can like go ahead and push her out and stuff, and like it'll be quick. Because like I was pushing for, I want to say like 30 minutes, and you know, my daughter's head like kept coming down but like going back up, and it wasn't like productive because my contractions were like slowing down, like they weren't close, super close like they were. So they gave me a drug, or they gave me some medicine to like basically speed up the contractions and make them come like again. And so that actually really helped. And so I started like pushing once the medicine like kicked in and my contractions started coming. And at that point, once they gave me the medicine and I was pushing, I pushed like a few more times, and like my daughter came right on out. So all in all, I want to say it took me about like 45 minutes of pushing like my daughter, and yeah, she popped right on out. Matter of fact, when I was pushing for like that stretch before, like, so you know, you push, you count from 10 all the way to 1. You push like 3 different times and then you count down. So it's like, you know, you push, and then as soon as you're done pushing, go right into the second one, then right into a third one. So I did that, and then her head had like basically gotten to where it needed to be. And at that point, they told me to stop pushing because my doctor wasn't even in there. But my daughter was literally like sliding out at that point. And so when I did like one more push, like it took one push and she just came right on out. So yeah, that was my labor and delivery. It was pretty quick. It was very intense, super surreal process, but my daughter was born healthy, which is all you can really ask for. So now I'm just gonna get into some questions that I had. And one question was, how long was my labor? So like I said, my contractions, like active labor, I would say, started from 6 o'clock in the morning on March 16th all the way up until around 10, because you know I gave birth to her at 10:41. So I'd say my labor lasted for like 16 hours. Okay, the next question is, how long did you have to wait to give birth? So like I said, we got to the hospital, it was around 6:30 p.m. I'll say, and then, you know, up until like I started pushing around 10, I would say like 3 to 4 hours is how long I had to wait once I was like admitted into the hospital, from triage up until labor and delivery. Okay, and then the next question is, how painful is labor? So on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being like little to none or none at all, and 10 being absolute worst, I would say okay, I'm gonna break it up into two parts. So I would say from the part that I was in active labor, so like 6 o'clock in the morning up until right before we left to go to the hospital, I would say it was probably like a 7 or 8. And then like actually when we got to the hospital and like up until me like pushing, definitely a 9 or a 10, like a 10 for sure. Because like looking back on it, I feel like I'm able to look at how the pain was differently, because in the moment it feels like, okay, dang, like this is so terrible, like it's the worst pain ever. But the pain that I experienced in the hospital was not compared to what I was experiencing at home, if that makes any sense. So like at home, I'm thinking, oh my God, this is so painful, like it can't get any worse, and it actually did. So that's why I say it's like that. Would I do it again? Definitely I would do it again, because you know, my mom was saying to me even before I had my daughter, like it's gonna be so painful, but it's like it immediately goes away as soon as you like push her out. And that's exactly the truth. Like it wasn't painful necessarily, aside from like, you know, them like pushing on my stomach and like trying to contract my uterus and then pulling my placenta out. All that was like so much pressure, but aside from that, it's not painful. And it's just like, you know, when I look at my daughter and stuff, it's worth it. Like it's worth the pain. And I know in the future I definitely want to have more kids. Me and my boyfriend definitely want to have more kids. So yeah, I would definitely do it again. And the last question is, how am I now? I'm way better. I still am like am getting adjusted, I would say, because it's not like an easy adjustment. It's like completely life-changing. I will be honest, I did kind of struggle with postpartum depression after I had my daughter. And yeah, like those were some really rough days. Some days I still have like good days and bad days. So I still have like some ups and downs, but it's like way less significant of a difference now. It's like, okay, I might just have like a couple of down moments or something, compared to like right after I had my daughter, and I would have like a down week, like just feeling bad and not really knowing why I'm feeling that way. But I mean, it's totally normal. I definitely experienced that drop in hormone level that they were telling me about. I experienced it, and that's kind of what just onset the depression. But now, like, I'm way happier. I'm just like, my daughter is just my absolute happiness. You know, finals are coming up with school this week coming up, so I'll be really excited to just have a break, like really looking forward to my summer break, so I can just dedicate all like my free time to my daughter, like, you know, because I will say doing school like remote from home was just it was just an added stressor onto like what I was already stressed about. Like getting acclimated to like motherhood and stuff is already a lot, and then when you're doing school and then you're catching up on assignments and stuff, it's a lot. So I'm really glad to like, I'm just looking forward to it being over. I'll say that. I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. I tried not to make it too long, but it was a lot that I talked about in here. So yeah, I'm just gonna hurry up and make this outro really quickly. Thank you guys so much for watching. I know it took me a long time to get to doing this video. Like, I asked these questions probably nearly a month ago, but you guys, like, mom life is literally hands-on. Like I'm always doing something, I'm always busy, and so it's really hard to get free time. But make sure you go follow me on Instagram, because, you know, I love posting little things, you know, of my daughter and stuff. I definitely want to put more content out here. This summer coming up, I'm gonna have way more free time. I've just been so busy, like managing school and like just a whole bunch of other things. But yeah, so I'm excited to be back posting again. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and just stay tuned for more videos, more mommy content, more makeup content, whatever content that you guys want to see and whatever I'm able to make for you guys. So yeah, bye.
Bitches, but them hoes working my nerves again. In my DM tryna creep, but I'm not working them. She want a Lambo truck, wanna be like Harry.